The way we talk about AI now, we're tip of the iceberg, and this is only going to get cooler. We're still typing on keyboards, right? Like that, I imagine very soon that's going to be gone.
You know, Pablo alluded to this. This is like tip of the iceberg stuff that's going. And so, you know, I just, if you're not doing anything with AI, I just start playing, because if you don't start playing now and start getting familiar and getting a little more comfortable, starting to understand it a little bit more, you know, things are moving fast, and I think they're only going to move faster going forward.
Somewhere between 80 and 85% of customers have no idea that it's an AI.
The technology is insane right now. Like, not just the sound of voices, but the cadence and filler, like it's like you're talking to a human. And, you know, if you don't say anything and you're not really looking for it, even sometimes if you are really looking for it, like, it's hard to tell that you're not talking to a human, you know. And I think a lot of people thinking they still sound like, you know, the 80s robots, but it just sounds like you're talking to a person, and the rhythm is great and the cadence is
terrifying.
Great. It's wild, man.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show 187, and I'm pumped you're here today because AI has entered the chat. That's right. Today we're going to talk about AI and laundromats. We've got Pablo joining us from Sense, talking about Sense Assist and their AI call center service that they offer, and just AI in general. Actually, this is a really cool AI conversation that we have today, and a lot of different ways that we can utilize AI with our businesses. So listen, times are a-changing. You've got to keep up with them. Today, we're here to help you do exactly that. So we're talking AI with Pablo, and enjoy. But listen, got to put it into action. All right. So I'm going to catch you on the back end of this interview and put your feet to the fire and make you do something this week, today, if possible, to put this into action. But before we get there, let's jump into it with Pablo. Pablo, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jordan. Good to see you back in the lab. I see different lab for you. Got a nice new background there.
That's right. I'm in the outdoor studio right now with the nice Hawaiian breeze blowing through. It's listen, it's tough to complain right now. I'll say that.
Look, next time we got to do this live, and I'm happy that this is a business expense. Flying out to do it in your home studio now, we can swing that.
Yeah, I feel like Alex should be paying for you to do that. So
you know what? I'm going to make a note of that. We'll follow up on that for sure.
That's good. Hey, give us just a quick, who are you? And we've got some interesting stuff to talk about today, so I want to jump into that, but just give us a quick, who are you?
Well, I'm very excited. Thanks for having me on. So I'm Pablo Marvel. I'm the head of business development at Sense. And over my career, I've always been at the intersection of the newest possible technology, trying to bring that to the oldest industries, usually oldest in terms of technology, and, you know, where I think I can make the biggest impact. And for the last 4 years, I've been helping build Sense into what is now the leading point of sale and payments. We like to add a couple pluses in there. So point of sale plus for laundry. But I got to say, this has been one of the greatest journeys I've been on. We've been able to do a lot, and we've had a lot of great relationships built and great times, great stories in the laundry industry. And we're excited to keep that going over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys definitely came in and made a splash pretty quickly there and hit the ground running. But listen, as sort of, you know, I love that intro of like that intersection of tech and, you know, kind of older industries, or I'll just say it, kind of stagnant industries, or at least ours has been and was. One of the things we were talking about before we hit record is just like how quickly this industry has been changing, especially over the last, you know, just couple of years even. It's changing fast. It's been sort of a theme of the last dozen or so podcast episodes over here. A lot of people talking about the changes. So let's talk about those changes. And I mean, can we start with sort of the hot topic tech wise right now, which is AI? And let's talk about AI in this industry. Is there any AI in this industry? And if so, like, how is it being utilized right now? And maybe how do we see, let's try to get to how do we see it being utilized in the future too?
Yeah. Well, I got to say, I'm envious of your position in the industry because you get to talk to everyone working on this kind of stuff. And, you're right that AI is the big sort of headline, not just in laundry. In fact, it might not even be in laundry to nearly the extent that it is in the rest of the world. And so I think we can cover a lot of ground here about AI, about what it's doing. And in particular, something I'm very focused on right now is bringing that to the laundry industry in the most useful ways possible. So I guess the best place to start, at least for me, I always like to remind myself and whoever will listen to me that AI has been around for a very long time. In fact, AI, the concept of AI has actually been in development since the 50s. And, everyone I'm sure has heard of the Turing test. That was the first real iteration of artificial intelligence. There's been a lot of great milestones, in the 80s. They sort of invented the concept of deep learning, machine learning. And really in the late 2000s, 2010 and onward is when it started coming up in conversations in tech companies, bringing that into products, early versions of AI. I'll give them this, but Siri and Alexa, I think, were laying groundwork, not just in the technology, but in building familiarity with how people interact with AI. And then you cut to, the 2010s when the first version of ChatGPT came on the scene. And, really ChatGPT, I think, was the consumer world's first introduction to what we're now calling AI. But just conceptually, how I would describe the AI that we're using right now really works around a core concept of natural language processing. I'm sure everyone's heard of LLMs, large language models, and that's really the foundation of ChatGPT. And basically what that means is that computers are now able to interpret language, which, for us mere humans, which is a new adjective. I think a new qualifier we need to put, mere humans, because these things are incredible. But I think conceptually, the most exciting part about the AI revolution that we're in right now is that AI is able to speak with us in natural language, which is our most familiar way of communicating, with each other. And now that we can, literally talk to computers, if you're using a voice component or chat in a way that you would, it's able to interpret not just what you're saying, but what you're trying to say. And that right there is the crux of this whole thing, is that this intention, right? If an AI-based program can interpret what you're trying to achieve, whether that's an outcome, interpreting a lot of data or trying to understand something in conversation, it can produce results that to us are mind-blowing. But really, that's just the result of the enormous amount of data that it's able to process instantaneously and produce answers that I think have that sort of wow factor. So, you can break that down in many ways, and I do want to speak specifically about what the coolest real applications of AI are. But I got to ask you, what is your take on the AI world? And I'm sure everyone besides ChatGPT, everyone's got to be using it for some daily task. So, what's your experience with AI today?
Well, first of all, I didn't realize I was getting a whole history lesson on AI, so that was awesome.
But I came here to nerd out, we got to get into it.
Let's do it then. Well, and second of all, you're living in this world. I'm living in this world a little bit too. I don't think most people are using it still, in day-to-day applications or even, I think a lot of people have not really delved into it a lot. We just happen to run in circles. I think that people are using it and doing awesome things with it. So yeah, it's really interesting. I've delved into, AI as almost like a think tank along with me, in terms of generating ideas. I just got off a podcast interview where, the guest who ran a pickup and delivery only business, generated their business model, helped develop their brand, which they have a super strong brand, by the way. And, just like all of these different applications of just even just ChatGPT in and of itself, right? Or Bard, or like whatever the Claude, or whatever one you're using, and obviously I utilize it in content creation and stuff too, which also laundromat owners could utilize as well. But then there's those are what I would call maybe like surface level applications of AI, and we're starting to see more practical tools being developed to help us manage our businesses, and I for one am very excited to see the marriage of like our mom and pop sort of community based businesses, and a lot of laundromat owners are really focusing on customer service and high touch, and like building relationships to help them build their businesses, but marrying that with this technology and seeing how we can streamline our businesses, but also just serve our customers better utilizing it. I don't know. I'm pretty 100%. Intrigued by it all, and I'm pretty excited about how it all is going to shape our industry.
Well, I think part of what you're hitting on, I think is the magic of it is that as a tool, it's by all means right now, it's still a widget. People go to use it on a website. It's, it's getting more embedded. I know Apple just had a partnership outlined with OpenAI. Maybe it was a couple months ago, end of last year, where now Siri is going to be powered by OpenAI. So you're going to see it more and more integrated into our daily lives. But what you're hitting on is the fact that you can use it as a business tool, which is an incredibly powerful engine, even just as a thought partner, let alone when you get into application-specific functions. But people also use it on a daily basis for personal uses as well. I think there's some really interesting and probably worrying stats if you're one of these big search engines like Google, but more and more people are starting to use ChatGPT or one of the chat models for basic search questions, right? And so right there you have vast implications, not just in terms of user habits, but economically speaking. You're in the content business, the marketing business. Google and a lot of people make all their money on search traffic and clicks to their websites. But now whenever I forget ChatGPT, even when I Google something, it has, I'm sure you've noticed that little AI summary at the top, which is probably answering somewhere north of 50% of people's questions ad hoc, and they don't need to go to a blog or a site. And that's just going to decimate a lot of businesses' revenues that depend on click-through traffic. I will say for the listeners out there, laundry is safe because laundry is providing a specific service, and it's not generic information. You're either ordering through their website or you're looking at their store hours and whatnot. So we're safe. But for the most part, there's a really interesting discussion starting to happen now about the broader implications of this kind of ability to surface exact answers to broad questions or specific questions without even having to go directly to a provider. But I will say, one thing that I've found incredibly useful for these models is learning and education, whether that's research for business or just general interest. I often will, whether I'm driving in the car or just fooling around at home, I'll use ChatGPT to learn about a topic, and you can design your own learning methodology. I like to do like a question and answer thing. It's more engaging, more interactive. Or you can, if I'm in the car, I'll just put on the voice function and just talk to it. Even something personal, like if I'm thinking through a tough conversation or an experience or a thought I had, it is an incredibly powerful reasoning tool. So on the personal side, very cool. But if you're not using this to better run your business, you need to, because it is just so unbelievably helpful, even at the surface level.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that's interesting is, while we're sort of a local, business, and we're not a knowledge-based or information-based business, we're more of like a service, right? So that does give us a layer of security, but in terms of like searching on Google and stuff and showing up and the power of that. But I do think it's going to impact a lot of how people are getting information and interacting with businesses. So even though we're sort of safe on that side of things, that whole process of finding the right business to work with and deciding who you're going to, trust with your laundry and like that kind of stuff, right? That is evolving and is going to continue to evolve. So it still behooves us to pay attention to and not just kind of rest on our laurels saying, hey, we're safe, because we are on that side of things, but we also need to start kind of engaging on how people are starting to interact with businesses, and it's going to open new opportunities, right? And whether that's figuring out how to show up on ChatGPT. If somebody's like, hey, what's the best laundry service in Dallas or whatever, right? And figuring out how to rank, quote unquote, on that. Or if it's looking at other methods, right? Like one thing that we're seeing a lot of right now is video is very powerful tool, even for kind of local businesses. I was just talking about a buddy of mine. He's got a Hawaiian Island Grill restaurant, and he paid 2 of his employees to manage his social media. He incentivized them with a trip to Disneyland to get the social to, his Instagram account to 100,000 subscribers. They did it in like 5 days. And so he gave him 2 weeks to do it. They did it in like 5 days. So he upped it to a trip to Hawaii, if they could get 200,000, within the first 2 weeks, and they did it in like 10 days. And so they ended up going to Hawaii, right? Like, so there are other
next time he has one of these projects, send him my way. If maybe that's how I get out to Hawaii.
I don't know if you're cute enough to get 200,000 subscribers. I don't know. Maybe you are. I'm not. I know that already.
I'll go do my hair and makeup before the next podcast with you.
That's right. That's right. You better go on a better podcast than mine if you're trying to get to 200,000. No, but there's other ways that people are interacting, right? And we need to be paying attention to those. And AI can help you figure out what that is and the best path for you and your business as you're, trying to connect with your ideal client, your ideal avatar, and sell your services to them.
100%. So I guess, maybe I think. So maybe I'll tell you about some of the ways that I'm seeing people use this, because what you're getting into here is definitely the core of what AI is amazing at right now, right? And I want to just keep a tab open in our mind about this concept of natural language processing. So all of the most I'd say productive ways to use AI right now we've seen in the marketing space, and you've seen this huge amount of applications, specific function-based applications come out around, like you said, managing social accounts or helping with email campaigns, branding, right? You mentioned this business that was able to actually write out their whole business plan. So that's more of like a strategic function, but then develop all the branding around that. So obviously, AI is incredibly good at writing marketing content because, to a certain degree, there's a generic element to, hey, I'm introducing myself. I'm this brand. Here's what you should like about us. Try out our products, right? And obviously, writing it is one thing, but then being able to pinpoint audiences and actually just have a repeatable function where you're, not just copying and pasting emails, but, and this is, I think, also merging in a lot of the tools people already use for marketing. I think the innovation, let's say, with AI is this concept of being able to take dynamic input and having structured output. So dynamic input could be like feedback from customers, right? Like a lot of good marketing tactics rely on when you put an ad or a campaign out there, what is people's natural response to that? And taking that feedback in real time and refining the next iterations of that. And that could be people's responses, like, are they clicking on your ads or what are they, writing on your comment section? But it also could just be these lookalike audiences and saying, hey, this demographic responded really well to this, so we're going to write even more tailored content for that demographic and drill in there. So marketing as a category, excellent use case. But I would say the other really incredible application right now for AI uses is data crunching and analyzing your business data. And up until now, a business owner's ability to make decisions looking at their existing business has been limited to how good your dashboards and reports are, but also your ability to interpret that data, right? And so again, we're coming back to this point of interpretation where we all use various reports or dashboards to run our businesses, whether that's downloading Excel sheets and kind of drawing your own conclusions, or maybe if you're able to manipulate those reports, you can get some really interesting insights. Or if you have, if your company provides a really clean looking dashboard that they've helped determine, what are the most important insights to be taking from here. But the big step is that traditional software, and what's, in industry terms is now called linear software, is that you have this button executes this function, or this data entry field correlates to this area in the database. And so it's very linear. And so, you're limited by whoever is providing that to take that and show it in whatever way. With AI-based tools, you can dump a ton of unstructured data in there and not only ask it general or specific questions, but you might even ask it such a question as, what do you see here? And tell me, what I should do with this data. So let's be specific. If I'm a laundromat owner and I I find the biggest file possible with all my customers, all the transactions, all of the types, like was it pick up and delivery or self-service, or the size of the transactions, the frequency, you get that all in one report, and you find a specific AI model that's trained to look at this. And actually, that's something I want to come back to, is how AI tools are what's called verticalizing now. They're getting really good at specific functions instead of this kind of general bucket. But you find one that is meant to analyze data from a business, right? Customer transaction data. And generally speaking, these models will not only tell you the basics of what you need to know, but they're very good at drawing their own conclusions about where you should be looking based on a goal. So if I upload this report and I say, okay, I know my daily transaction volume and I know how many delivery orders I had and whatnot. Let's say I want to figure out which of my self-serve customers are most likely to be able to convert to wash, dry, fold, or pick up and delivery customers. What these models are capable of doing, which certainly you could do it too, just take you 10 times longer, and at this point not be a good use of your time at all, would be to say, okay, let's look at the customers that come in most frequently and have the highest transaction volume. And, it might infer that that's someone who has a family or, is doing a lot of laundry on behalf of someone. And based on how frequently they're coming in, would it actually be a net cost savings or time savings for them to come in or to use a pickup and delivery service? And then it might, based on what application this lives within, if let's say you have a sophisticated point of sale software in the laundry industry, then it might say, would you like
nudge,
to
nudge, wink, wink.
There's a couple out there I can think of. It might say, would you like us to text or email this customer with a promotion or discount or, offer to try this out, right? And so that's where we kind of get into this concept of agentic AI, which is another great little buzzword for folks who are talking about this. Agentic AI is not just information response, but the ability to execute functions. That's a really cool area that's developing very quickly right now. So we have marketing, we have data crunching. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, the agency thing is a massive leap from the straight data thing, because, you can I've seen people doing all kinds. I mean, you talk about like personal use cases, right? Of like, I've seen people dump their blood test results into ChatGPT, have it analyze and have it create a plan. And, you know, you can even have it ask like, hey, do you need me to set a doctor's appointment or a follow-up appointment? You know, traveling, like all kinds of different things where now this agent can go through. And also, I mean, it's going to have marketing, which I'm sure we're going to get into, but it's going to have marketing implications, customer service implications to all these things too, where now you have these agents working for you at a fraction of the cost of a human agent, and that can work 24/7, doing all kinds of different things for your business, which leaves like a lot of very exciting possibilities for our businesses. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just got excited because there's some interesting stuff happening with the agency model.
100%. And I think, you know, a thread that is becoming more and more common is people are saying, you know, we're just waiting for the first, you know, billion-dollar company with under 10 employees to come out, because in all reality, you know, depending on what industry and what your product is, that is entirely possible now. And I think it's also important to just touch on one thing, which is that there's a lot of discussion and, you know, apprehension, let's say, around job cuts and replacement. And I think that the better way to think of it, at least certainly the way that we think of it, is this should be 10xing output, not reducing by a factor of 10 your labor or staff, right? So if you're a laundromat and you have 5 employees and you are looking at these tools, you shouldn't be thinking, how can I fire 3 of my employees and bring down my costs? You should be looking at and saying, how can I turn my 5-person team into a 50-person team with what they're each doing? And obviously, depending on the industry, you know, a lot of employment in laundromats are around, you know, people actually folding the laundry, you know, doing the wash, I fold, and keeping an eye on the store. It's not necessarily desk work or analytical work. Usually that falls on the owner, but you can now expand that part of your business. And as a small laundromat, you know, one location with 1 to 5 employees, you can operate your business theoretically like a 30-store chain with middle management and things like that. And so it's really, you know, the big idea is just, you know, you can do anything. That's not necessarily helpful. You should be able to figure out what exactly you want to do, but you can draw a pretty straight line, at least from an operational and business management sense today with that.
Yeah. And, you know, this is not necessarily really the topic of today, but, you know, robotics is another one that I think is quietly, or at least more quietly than AI, ready to just revolutionize a lot of stuff. And, you know, I would argue, you know, because I think that's another one, and maybe even more so one that, you know, people fear is going to replace jobs. And, you know, the reality of it is robotics will replace some jobs and stuff, but it'll create other jobs, other opportunities, other roles for us mere humans to play, right? And so there will be some like shuffling around and stuff. But, you know, robotics and AI kind of combined, I love the perspective of, you know, how can we 10x what we're already doing, you know? And maybe the goal isn't to get to 50 employees. Maybe the goal is to stay 5 employees and 10x what we're doing with the 5 employees and let AI run, you know, all the behind the scenes stuff. And you just have your employees that are processing laundry until you have robots doing it. And then you've got employees doing other stuff. I don't know, man, that's down the line a little, I think, but
I don't know. I agree with you on the robotic front, except I will say the day that a robot can pull my balled up socks out of my duvet cover and separate them and fold them, that's when we're living in the future. For now, we're, you know, let it sort your groceries and whatnot. But so just going back to applications here, and this is something that, you know, I think is something anyone can try out today. The other really incredible area that AI is available today in product form is customer support. And so, you know, we had launched this call center recently called Sense Assist. And, just sort of touching on something we mentioned earlier, the reason I think this is so exciting for us, but also we've had incredible adoption from our customers. It's by far our highest producing product in terms of, how widely it was adopted by customers and how regularly they're using it. The main reason this is so exciting is because of this voice aspect, and just touching on this notion that voice is how we've always communicated. It's the most efficient way. I could mumble, I could say half a sentence and you know exactly what I'm saying. It's so familiar with us. You don't have to be formal and type it out. And on top of that, there's of course the sort of headline bullet points, which is that when you have a voice AI customer assistant answering the phones for you, it's never cranky. It's always available 24/7. It can actually do things in the agentic front. It can place orders for you. It can transfer calls dynamically. If you have a commercial customer calling, it'll know to send it to the owner. Whereas if someone's dog is stuck in a dryer, it'll send it to the store, things like that, which we haven't seen yet, but soon enough, I'm sure. But the call center is fantastic for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is productizing customer service, which I think is a really important concept for any business to focus on. Usually in the laundry industry, customer service is something that the owner feels like they have to do, or they need to really trust their management team and attendants to be able to represent the brand effectively, to be able to handle important calls just as well, important in the sense of new business, just as well as an angry customer, and have that level of professionalism. But when you look at the top brands in the world, Amazon, Apple, and you also look at the largest, the top performing laundromats out there, the 100-store chains or the 50-store chains, or frankly, even the 3-store operators who operate at incredibly high margin and have this amazing customer retention, they all say the same thing. And you and I have both heard this at all the big laundry conferences. The first thing they'll say when they get the question, what's your secret sauce? They say, we invest in customer service. And to your point about, reducing costs and having access to professional services through a product like Sense Assist, I'm not just plugging ours. There's many out there. There's many good options for how to have an AI voice customer service, but you're really investing in this notion of customer service. And in order to effectively productize it, you need to be able to measure the results. And so that's a big thing we've focused on here is, yes, you can subscribe to our call center, get it up and running, as quickly as possible, and give time back to your management or your employees or yourself. But we also make a big effort to show the results of what that is actually doing to your business. So we define that by a couple of key metrics. Obviously, time saved. Right now we're saving owners hours and hours a month, or however you want to measure it, per day, per week, per month. They're getting real time back, and that can be reinvested in just better performance, folding more laundry, getting more customers through the store, or spend that time in growing the business and thinking strategically. So time saved has a big dollar sign next to it. Customer retention is another big thing, right? Your business is only as good as the customers you keep. And in laundry, it's a very competitive space just in terms of the services being offered. So the way that business owners can stand out is by building a brand. And, I'm sure everyone knows the term, you are what you eat. But in the business sense, I really think your brand is the tools and customer experience that you provide. And so a big goal with launching Sense Assist was give any laundromat, whether it's the 100-store chain with middle management and a lot of capital behind it, or the 1-store mom and pop, give them easy access to incredibly high quality professional customer service, and they will feel the results almost immediately. And then, of course, the other big metric is revenue. So we've built functionality into this because we obviously have such a robust business and many products and features around the call center. We've integrated the call center into our point of sale and business management system, such that when someone wants to place an order, the AI will know who the customer is based on their phone number. It can take their order, it can place the order, and it can actually not only place orders, but if someone calls and says, hey, my laundry was supposed to get here this morning, where is it? You can look it up. It's fully integrated with our system. So we see regularly now, which is really cool, we see operators just having orders pop up into their business manager. And a critical piece of this is not just, let's say, a $50 pickup and delivery order. It might be a $50 order if the attendant picked up the phone and they're busy. There's a kids crying in the background. There's laundry that needs to be folded. They say, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, it'll be $50. Great, we'll pick it up tomorrow. Okay, but our system is actually sales trained, right? And so the owner can, when they onboard, they can put in anything they want to upsell or any specials they're running or promos, whatnot. And so we actually, on average, see the average order value for orders placed through our AI system is higher than the exact same order had it just been placed online or over the phone with an attendant who didn't know to ask, hey, we have lavender spritz, make your clothes smell really nice. It's only 50 cents a pound, or we have a shoe cleaning special or what have you. So it's not only revenue coming in, but it's increased revenue just based on the way the system is trained. So it's a really powerful product. Even if you don't use ours, I recommend that every business owner should look at how they can productize their phones and reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Like phones were so out, like the early 2000s. That were like, hey, it's all about email and all this stuff, right? But phones never really went away.
Phones
are
power
back. I know the power of phones are like. It's always been there, but I think people are starting to realize now, oh man, like that's just a great sales tool. And what's interesting, like I think a lot of people maybe are listening to this and have never knowingly heard an AI, talk. Like the technology is insane right now. Like not just the sound of voices, but the cadence and filler, like it's like you're talking to a human. And if you don't say anything and you're not really looking for it, even sometimes if you are really looking for it, like it's hard to tell that you're not talking to a human. And like you said, it's really powerful to have a very human sounding, not just voice and cadence, but also sort of that language model, right? Of being able to understand, things that a human would understand that aren't clear, for like an old timey robot, and I think a lot of people are thinking they still sound like, the 80s robots, but it just sounds like you're talking to a person and the rhythm is great and the cadence is
terrifying.
Great. It's wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me throw some stats out there that really, even, I was responsible for this product, and even I'm very surprised when I, do my monthly reviews and look at the data logs. So to your point, somewhere between 80 and 85% of customers have no idea that it's an AI. Or maybe I should say, because we don't know. Maybe they know and they love it. But on the flip side, 15 to 20% of people actively ask, hang on, is this a robot? And the AI will respond, actually, yes, I'm a virtual assistant. And then the best part is that people they'll continue on with the normal niceties of humans. Like they'll say thank you. And, and it's sort of this amazing juxtaposition of.
That's because we're all scared of AI and we're afraid.
Exactly.
If we're not nice to it, it's
Hello,
coming
Jordan
for us.
Berry, who lives at 25 Magnolia Way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
sorry, I didn't say thank you.
Exactly. So we have a overwhelming number of people who just have no idea or no comment on the fact that it's a bot. And even still, it's not like those 20% have an issue with it. They're just sort of surprised. But we are currently we're handling about 90% of the phone calls that come into any given laundromat, which if you think about it, is a sort of staggering number that just by implementing this one product, your talk time, your call time is reduced by 90%. Which I think is fantastic, across the board. Who doesn't love getting that time back? Somewhere around 30% of the calls are in another language. So obviously one fantastic thing about this is that it's instantly multilingual across any language. Obviously in the industry, we see a lot of Spanish, native Spanish speakers, or an Asian language, a lot of Russians in Brooklyn. So it's really cool to listen to these calls where someone will say, in Spanish, they'll say, do you speak Spanish? And instantly the AI will switch over to Spanish and have a seamless conversation. So I think that's really powerful. Also, you're getting a multilingual employee. Yeah. And I talked before about the uplift in actual revenue being driven by these, but just in general, what I would say, because I realize as we're talking about this, a lot of, maybe it sounds technical, like this is really easy product to listen in, to implement. And one thing that really surprised me was, we have probably pulling on like anywhere between 50 and 75 customers a month who are onboarding onto this. It's a massively adopted product within our ecosystem. I don't have an exact number, but a very, very high percentage of customers will actively review the calls, because we have it in our business manager. You have a call log, you have a summary, you have a recording if you want to listen to it. A lot of people now, instead of picking up the phone, will spend that time reviewing the calls. And you can set parameters for things to pull out. Like we can say, identify all calls that talk about placing an order or that have an urgent issue or, reporting issues within the laundromat, right? But our customers will regularly get in touch with us and say, I was listening to all these calls and so many people were asking about horse blankets that now I offer a horse blanket washing service, right? So there's this amazing feedback loop because we're doing the heavy lifting on crunching the data, so to speak, and just providing the insights. Say, hey, a lot of customers are asking about horse blankets, or, a lot of issues are happening in this location. You might want to go, talk to the manager over there. I like the little background pet.
Yeah, the pup. The pup's walking. Yeah.
But so, it's a amazing, I'd say, lens into a previously obscure area of your business. There was no way that prior to a product like this, unless you really were going over the top and investing in it, there was no way that owners were taking the time to understand what was happening on the phone. If they weren't on the call themselves, they either don't care or don't have the time to care. And now that's another incredible source of data and insights about what's going on in your store.
Yeah, well, and circling kind of back around, right? So when I do consulting calls and talking to people who want to buy a laundromat or trying to improve their laundromat or their laundry service or whatever, I have an AI in those calls, and so after the call, you get a link with you get the recording of the call and then, an AI breakdown of everything. It outlines every question that was asked, who asked it. It outlines, action steps for everybody. And it's all clickable, right? So if you click on it,
yep.
Like, hey, Pablo said that, he was going to send me this. I can click on that and find that spot in the interview, right? Like, so I use that, right?
Too much accountability these days.
But I know that's what it comes down to, right? But so you have that, right? But same with these calls, right? So you get these calls and you get these summaries and all that stuff. But another thing that you can do, kind of circling back around, is you can take transcripts of these calls, throw them back into AI and say, hey, these are my sales calls for the last month or week or whatever. Can you go through them and pull out any insights? How can, what are the biggest pain points? What are the biggest opportunities, for me to serve my customers or grow my business or make more revenue or what, right? So you can have AI going back to like crunching that data and analysis. You've got all these tools now that can work together in like powerful ways to where you don't necessarily even, and not that you shouldn't, but you don't necessarily have to go through and read all those transcripts. AI can do it for you and synthesize it all and then give you some very applicable things that you can implement or that you can have your AI agent implement going forward, right? And so it
100%.
It gets very synergistic in that way and it's just super powerful stuff. Super powerful stuff.
100%. So I'll give you an example of one of my favorite call recordings that I've listened to. And to your point about synthesis, this is, I think, where AI applications can differ. So, there are other AI call centers out there that are either standalone or maybe you've subscribed, there's some legacy platforms like Grasshopper or TalkDesk that are implementing AI agents, but they're really sort of third-party call center products or phone products, like Google Voice, things like that. Where you start to see some separation in the pack is how integrated and how interconnected an AI product, in this case a call center, is with the rest of your business ecosystem. So obviously that's a big North Star for Sense, is to provide a product or service for everything that you touch in your day-to-day operations in the store. So for example, if you're a specific type of customer that uses our card readers as well as our point of sale, and you use the Sense website and you have our, and we had a customer, an end customer call one of our laundromats. And it said, where is the laundromat located? I want to come by. And the AI said, well, where are you coming from? He said, how long will it take me to get there? And he just gave sort of a random
cross street or something like that.
Yeah, it was a landmark.
Landmark, yeah,
brain fart there. But so he gave a landmark, and the AI located it in the background, did the math. It said, okay, it'll be about a 15-minute drive if you take a car, or 25-minute train, what have you. Then the customer said, I have 2 garbage bags full of laundry. I'm going to wash it myself. How much will that cost? And the AI system, because it was plugged in, it knew what washers the store had, and it was able to approximate the weight, more or less, of 2 garbage bags. And it said, well, my guess would be each one's about 30 to 45 pounds. So you can use we have 2 available 45-pound washers right now that aren't being used, and each one costs $5.25. So bank on $11 to do your laundry plus dry time. And by the way, the store's closing in an hour and a half, so you should get over there, right? And we looked at it, we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. We looked at it, but it's not like the owner had put in all those specific information. It was all inference, right? And so the flip side of that coin is that sometimes it's wrong, right? And I'm sure everyone has heard about what's called hallucinations, and AI making inferences sounds very confident, but it's not always right. And that's something that's going to be improving over time. We're not going to say we have a ton of influence over that. We're just hoping that good old Uncle ChatGPT can figure that out quickly. But the point is that it's not just this is a feature I'm implementing. It really is representative of an ecosystem and sort of advanced capability of thinking like an attendant that had picked up the phone and looked over and saw what was possible. So that was a really remarkable instance. Another great thing about this product is that it will deflect bot calls. And I will tell you, I've listened to some hilarious calls where the AI picks up and it's a scam or a bot caller, and the AI has started to actually get pissed off. That's the best. It gets pissed off, just like me. I'm like, stop calling. It said, and there was one call I listened to where it said, we don't have time for spam calls. Thank you. And just hangs up. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's really cool to see this. I wish I could take credit for all the cool things it's doing, but it really is a living, breathing thing.
Yeah. Well, and it really is remarkable. Like I've done a few calls where, this has been implemented in laundromats, and I've done some calls where there's multiple locations and done some like, hey, can I get directions, and tried different things like landmarks, cross streets, specific addresses, how long it's going to take, like all that stuff. And it's wild, like how accurate it could be. And, like it would give me a specific location. Like this, it looks like this one's the closest to you. And I'd be like, let's go I need to go the other way because I've got something after. Is there anything in the other direction? Like stuff like that, where you're like, man, this is wild. Like the capabilities that this thing has. And, it's exciting to have this conversation and talk about it and stuff. But until you've really like experienced it and like interacted with it with somebody's laundromat or a sample one or something like that, it's tough to appreciate like how crazy this is to have that capability there.
I was at dinner with my dad last night, and I asked him, I said, right now, when you were my age or younger, when you were a kid, what is something that you have now that you never thought would be possible, even like conceptually? And I loved his answer. He said FaceTime, Zoom, FaceTime, video chats. And my reaction was like, really? Like FaceTime? But I think that further reinforces the point that like you and I grew up, more or less in the age of FaceTime and, Zoom,
more
video
you
calls.
Than me, but yeah.
But trying to,
Yeah, I appreciate what you were trying to do there. I appreciate that.
But we grew up with that. And so I was sort of unimpressed. I thought he was going to say, but he doesn't even know what ChatGPT is, to be honest. But anyway, that I think is a perfect example of like the way we talk about AI now. We're tip of the iceberg, and this is only going to get cooler. We're still typing on keyboards, right? Like that. I imagine very soon that's going to be gone. In fact, I found this hilarious trend called vibe coding. I don't know for all the engineers out there, but there's this new thing called vibe coding, which is where you just talk to your computer, verbally, and it does all the coding for you. And so I literally like could just get on a format like this and describe a website or a app widget that I want to make. And certain programs out there will actually be writing lines of code. And so, if you've seen like Minority Report or any of these sci-fi movies, like this is all happening so fast that very soon, even ChatGPT going to openai.com, that's going to be laughable and just say like, really, you guys like held phones in your hand, and right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, for all the people sort of in the pre and post, tech boom in the last 50, 60 years, like what is the thing that everyone never thought was even conceivable when they were young adults or kids that now is just sort of second nature?
Yeah, well, and here's something for you youngins, is like the same thing's going to happen to you, right? Like, and probably a lot faster. You're going to be like my age and not that long. And then you're going to be like, I never even imagined. Like, I just think with AI and robotics doing what they're doing right now, there's this like, I don't want to call it a silent revolution happening because it's not silent, but I think it's more quiet than what's really going on here. I think there's a lot more happening specifically in robotics than is touching us in our day-to-day lives at the moment. And I think there's going to be that moment where ChatGPT is released and all of a sudden it's like the game's on, right? And I think there's going to be that similar moment in robotics where we've had some like, Roomba and stuff like that, which I guess is in hot water right now for taking picture of people's houses. But that privacy concern is still going to be there.
Oh God, I'd rather live in ignorance.
Yeah, dude, I know it is like a double-edged sword, right? But the context that we're talking about it in right now is like, this is how, one thing that I've been trying to help people do now, right, is like take their small businesses and turn them into companies. Like that's, I think, I love that. I think that's really the path to real financial freedom and real wealth, is turning your mom and pop, your small business into a company. And in order to do that, we've got to have the right tech stack and we've got to have the right people. And there's never going to be getting around those two variables to do it. But then we've got to implement them in a way that helps us do more with less, right? And that's, I think the power of AI here is it's letting us do a whole lot more with less time and effort, less energy, less thought. It's no longer, reliant on me coming up with good ideas. It's more about the ideas are there. You can get the ideas now for free. So you've got to implement. And this is, I think we're on the precipice of something cool in our industry. I mean, maybe just kind of in general, a little scary, a little cool, but in our industry, I think we're on the precipice of something very cool. And I think the Sense Assist is a huge leap for us. And like you said, I wouldn't say there's a lot of other services, but there's a few other services that do something similar. But what's intriguing about the way you guys are doing it is that it's integrated right into everything that you've got, or will be integrated into everything that you've got if it's not yet. And having the power to be like, hey, we've got these 2 machines open, or hey, you can place an order right here for pickup and delivery, and I'll just schedule it for you, and it just pops up in your driver's app. There you go, right? Like,
100%.
We're just scratching the surface here, I think.
I agree. And I think, just to circle back to something you mentioned, which I think is really powerful. First of all, I love this idea of turn your small business into a company. But if I think about most of the people that I know in the laundry industry, they're really chasing what you had said, which is financial freedom, or I would even just say freedom in general. People define that in different ways. There's financial freedom. There's, time. There's a great book called 5 Types of Wealth. I'm going to blank on a couple, but it's time, it's financial, it's, passion or what have you, relationships. The important stuff. And I think that, the underlying notion here is that these tools are, above all else, freeing up your time. Just like you said, do more with less, right? And yes, they will generate more revenue and they will create better customer experience. But if all you're chasing is just more free time to go do what you want and do what you love, then you have twice the responsibility to be looking at the latest technology. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, I would say, that sounds daunting. That's my job. My job, especially at Sense, is to do the work, do the research, bring the products to the industry and say, we have thought a lot about everything you could possibly do in this industry from a technology and management perspective. Like, this is where it's at. And I would just say, it's never too late. Like, no matter how, if it's daunting, and this is not meant to be condescending at all, but if you're, a lot of people are sort of nervous about like, oh, I have to learn this new thing, or this is kind of obscure conceptually. It's not. It's really easy. We're trying to make it really easy, but importantly, it's never too late to learn about how to put these to work for you, because it is only getting more advanced. It's getting easier to implement. And, just to drop some Easter eggs here, Sense Assist was our first foray, launching an AI-based product, but without spoiling any upcoming surprises, we have a lot of really cool stuff coming out this year regarding, implementation of AI across, new instances like a call center, or just reinventing the way we interact with other areas of our product. And I think, my friends get tired of this, because if you give me enough road to run here, I will talk your ear off. But I tend to get very philosophical about this, because it's not just a new app or a widget or whatever. Like, we really are in a revolutionary era in terms of technology. And a lot of the experts say that, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, being the internet, the invention of the internet. And then the next big tech milestone is the release of AI that we use today. But what I would say is that in all my experience with this, in just launching this product and delving into it, the most interesting sort of human aspect is that it's really changing the way that we interact with technology. So it's not just the thing it does. It's not just the output and the functionality. It's the way we interact with it. And we're sort of in this awkward, like, tween age now, where we're getting the results, but we still have to type into our computers, or maybe, certain people may use the like voice functionality talking to it. But we're in our like awkward teen phase right now, where very soon the actual interface for a lot of people's technology, and that's not just the business manager or their point of sale or whatever, like, if you have an Alexa home product, like, you probably find yourself talking to your lights or your air conditioner, which is a bizarre concept, right? But like, a specific example is when we were working on implementing a AI layer to analyze your data and your insights, right? So if you go into your reporting section and you're in the business manager, fundamentally, it's not just dropping your delivery sales report and saying, analyze this and, give me some answers. It would actually, for the modern user, you probably will never open a report again. You will just have targeted questions that you type into your chat widget, your AI chat widget, and say, I get the reporting, I get the daily sales. Here's what I'm trying to achieve. Help me achieve this. And that could be growth. It could be, cost reduction. It could be whatever, better marketing, what have you. But that's a big shift in the way we actually use technology. And that's going to redefine, I think a lot about just, the software providers out there, the small business owners, the big business owners too. Like everyone is sort of starting to chew on the same question now. It's like, what's really going to change fundamentally about the way we use this now? So that to me is very exciting.
Yeah. And it is very exciting, but it also, it can be daunting or overwhelming as well. But listen, if you're at a place where you found yourself, I don't want to say complacent, I'll say comfortable. If you've been comfortable in your business and you really haven't, you've just kind of been coasting. I think now's the time to start playing. And that's how you should think of it. I think if you've done nothing with AI for your business, I think just starting by playing, don't put a lot of pressure on it transforming your business or anything, but just kind of playing around with it and seeing what it can do to help you grow your business. I think you'll find that if you just play with it a little bit, it'll start giving you, at the very least, like ideas, get the creative juices flowing, re-energize you to kind of get jump started again. And then, kind of like Pablo was saying, is like, there are other people thinking about practical use cases for AI for us as an industry and more, right? And so you don't necessarily have to discover all of that yourself. We can rely on other people doing that. And listen, Pablo alluded to this. This is like tip of the iceberg stuff that's going. And so, I just, if you're not doing anything with AI, I just start playing, because if you don't start playing now and start getting familiar and getting a little more comfortable, starting to understand it a little bit more, things are moving fast, and I think they're only going to move faster going forward. And we're just not an industry used to that right now.
Well, I think that's sort of the best part, is that there's probably a lot of people who listen to this podcast who are like, I don't really care, or I don't want to even know about that. Laundry is laundry. And I don't disagree with that. There's an important, it's not a worse way of doing your business. It's just, there's so many different models in the laundromat industry. So the things that I like to focus on just conceptually is that, I could talk for hours about this stuff, what's coming and what it can do and what it will do. But at the end of the day, my experience is that this is just the best form of time saving and creating efficiency in your day-to-day life as a business owner or as a person or what have you. But if you're interested in saving time and also having fun, there's a lot of really cool stuff that kind of is, mind-blowing now, but these things are the ultimate time savers when it comes to actually implementing them. So for anyone who's interested in saving time and streamlining things in their business, I think this is a really great place to start. And just in general, I love, Jordan, I love your podcast because the range of topics you cover goes from like a very specific thing or a concept or a theme, to these broader topics. But I think, for the laundry industry, the thing that makes me the most excited is that this is leveling the playing field. I would argue that laundry is not even close to the back of the line in terms of, how a lot of the owners in the industry are running their business. In the last couple of years, at least since I've been around, 4 or 5 years, the people that we speak to are not only just using products that we offer, but they're asking the conversations we're engaging in. People are talking about this independently and asking us all the time, like, hey, are you guys doing anything with this? Or, can the product do this? Or, what's your thoughts on this? So I think people are starting to catch on. It's very exciting because it's not reliant on just one company by any means to be thinking about this stuff. And at the end of the day, running a business is running a business, but I think everyone wants to get the most out of that experience and see that grow as much as possible. So a lot of fun stuff happening right now.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. And I would say like the other thing, I think a lot of people are catching on to it, but also it's attracting people who already kind of understand it and want to implement it in these businesses. And there's like, your Cody Sanchez's of the world, her model basically that she advocates is take a quote unquote boring business. I never was bored running a laundromat, but boring business and add systems and automations to it. And kind of the next evolution of that is, add systems and automation to it, but then, start utilizing AI to, help you build that business, help you refine that business. And that's sort of the next iteration of it. And it's attracting people who that's exactly what they want to do, which is why if you haven't started playing around with it yet, it's time to start. I don't want to say I told you so a year down the line, because that's all it'll be. It'll be like a year.
Told you so. Yeah. And I think, one of my favorite parts of the industry is going to the conferences, Wash, Dry, Fold or Excellence or Clean Show. And you get this massive concentration of operators in one place. And the amount of ideas that are shared, you have the highest tech and the lowest tech operator sharing a conversation over a beer, and they will each learn something from the other. It's not just being passed down through the top of the funnel. There's so many different ways to do this, and so many different things people are doing. So here's to the boring businesses, because that's always been my sandbox, and I think it will continue to be that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, dude, this has been awesome. I mean, listen, is there a way that if people are hearing this conversation and they're like, I kind of want to get a feel of like, what is this Sense Assist like what does it sound like? How does it work? Like, what's the best way for people to hear this for themselves?
100%. So, the easiest way is just go to the Sense website. That's trysense.com, TRYCENTS.com, or just Google Sense. We have it in our solutions page that's all over the website. You can also schedule a demo anytime. You can email me personally. My email is just Pablo, Pablo, @trysense.com. But, pretty much all roads lead back to Sense. And, the call center, I think, is an amazing way to just sort of try it out. You don't have to use anything else in our business to use the call center. It's an independent product, obviously more valuable if you combine it with other integrated products and services. But if you just want a call center, it's available. So check it out online. You can schedule a demo or reach out to me and we can get on the phone, even if you just want to shoot the hay about this and that and hear what's going on. But, we're just excited for anyone who wants to learn more and see how we can help them grow their business.
Yeah. And I'll just say, like, if you've never interacted with one of these AI kind of agents, assistants, especially in our industry specifically, I just highly recommend you do it and just give it a shot, because I think you're going to, I was blown away, and I kind of have been keeping up with stuff, and, I've messed around with like 11 Labs, voice recreation, like all that stuff. But even still, like it's pretty impressive. And so check it out, trysense.com or Pablo. Actually, just email Pablo directly. If just everybody emails
blow
Pablo.
Up my inbox, please.
That'll be great. Pablo @trysense.com. That'd be good. And I'm going to have an AI bot just emailing you nonstop now.
Exactly.
About it.
And I'll have my AI bot answering those emails. So
awesome. Hey, man, thank you for coming on and just sharing this cool direction that we're heading in right now and some of the innovation happening in our industry. I love to hear that you guys are working on that, obviously, and other people are working on similar stuff, and, just pushing each other higher, which is only going to help us push our businesses higher. And I'm listen, I'm on a mission, and I think you guys are a similar mission to rehab the reputation of our industry here. And I think we're, going a long ways towards doing that right now. And I want people to think good things when they think laundromats, not dingy, dirty, old, ancient,
here,
unchanging industry. So appreciate you guys forging the way, and fighting that battle with us and for us.
Well, thank you, Jordan. And finally got my debut on the hallowed podcast. So I loved being here. Thank you very much for having me. And, it's exciting times to mention, and I love the mission we share in that. And, one day at a time, let's keep going.
That's right. And I'll send you the bill for letting you come on. Here.
Exactly.
It will be double.
We'll edit
my
that
normal,
part out.
yeah, my normal fee. But no, I appreciate you coming on, dude, and talking some nerd talk with me just a little bit. And like I said, we're scratching the surface, and I know you guys got more coming up, so I'm sure we'll hear more about that stuff as we go on.
I look forward to it. Thanks a lot.
All right, I hope you love that interview with Pablo. So much good stuff in there. We're talking all things AI. Listen, we're scratching the surface of AI and how you can use it in your business. If you're not utilizing it at all yet to help you manage your business, don't be tomorrow's zombie, Matt. You got to get on this and utilize the technology that we have today that's available to us to help us serve our customers better, to grow our businesses, to free up more of our time, to make greater returns. That's what these technologies allow us to do. So don't miss the bandwagon, jump on it. And here it is, putting your feet to the fire. What are you going to do today, this week, when it comes to AI, to just start playing with it? Maybe you're gonna look more into Synthesis there. That's one obvious option from this. Maybe you're gonna go play with ChatGPT and start figuring out how it can help you with your business. You can ask ChatGPT, how can you help me with my laundromat business? It will give you ideas, and then you can probe deeper into those ideas. All right. So get after it today. Get into the AI. Don't be afraid of it. I mean, you could be afraid of it on a personal level. I don't know. There's some scary stuff. But when it comes to your business, don't be afraid of it. Get in there and start seeing how you can utilize it to help you run a more efficient business, increase your revenues, decrease your time commitment, whatever it might be. And let's get after it. Okay. All right. Listen to us. Look at, man, we're changing the industry here, one action at a time. So put your action where your mouth is this week, and we'll see you next week. Peace.